hip-hop in Rosenberg and make trillions of dollars. This nigga didn't even go to Nipsey's funeral, bro. If he's so fucking hip-hop, why? How come he ain't blocked 10 blocks in motherfucking Detroit and give it to the homeless black people? Man, fuck Eminem, bro.
Few moments later.
I don't got nothing against Eminem. I got nothing against Eminem. Eminem can rap, but I care about us more. I don't want to go through. I don't want to talk about it no more. I don't want.
It's 2025, and Benzino is still trying to drag Eminem into another back and forth. But Eminem hasn't said a single word about him since Doomsday Part 2 dropped. Despite the silence, Benzino keeps talking, claiming that Eminem used him for clout and built his entire street reputation off their early 2000s beef before tossing him aside like he never mattered. According to Benzino, he believes he's the reason Eminem was ever viewed as controversial, raw, or real. And while their feud did make noise back then, the reality is hard to ignore.
Look at Eminem's life. Eminem's been sheltered his whole life with security. So Eminem probably got mad anxiety. He probably can't be by himself and walk through a mall. You know what I'm saying? You can catch me at the most craziest gas station in any hood in America. He'd be like, that you, Zeno? Somebody, yo, let me get that picture. Yeah.
Bro, let me tell you, his fans like him because he's white. They don't fuck with us. Let me try to make fuck Eminem. I dusted Eminem. Rap Elvis, bitch.
Yeah. Eminem completely dismantled him lyrically, dropped 8 Mile, won an Oscar, and dominated the entire 2000s. Meanwhile, Benzino lost the source, lost cultural relevance, and somehow still frames himself as the hero of that story. Eminem, on the other hand, has stayed completely unbothered by all the noise. He hasn't responded, hasn't hinted, and hasn't acknowledged Benzino at all. But someone else did step in, and everyone already knows who that is. 50 Cent, Eminem's day one ally, jumped straight into the chaos. 50 took to social media to clown Benzino, and just like that, the situation turned into vintage hip-hop drama overnight. While Benzino and 50 went back and forth publicly, Eminem was likely somewhere relaxed, pen in hand, watching the whole thing unfold without saying a word. That silence alone spoke volumes. The chaos really kicked off when Benzino dropped a new freestyle. The internet wasted no time tearing it apart, with people joking that it was the hottest track in the senior citizen community. The comments were ruthless, and of course, 50 wasn't about to sit this one out.
Just posting it, right? And I'm like, this nigga really, he really fuck with Zeno, huh? I mean, what you should be doing, Kurt, is explaining to little Bruce Leroy while Sleaze and Diddy and a bunch of niggas was slutting around. I think you're gonna have to owe him an explanation when he gets older. Don't act like we ain't see you on the beach with your Bugs Bunny T-plate with the camera taking pictures, yeah. You was in your feelings, huh? Nah, Curtis, it's not a good look. But I tell you what, though. The boxing challenge still there, Curtis, for the celebrity. I'm down to make a couple of M's. I'll go 3 rounds with your goofy ass. That's number
50 reposted the clip and added his own caption, calling it the worst diss he'd heard all year and pointing out Benzino's age with zero mercy. He didn't hold back at all, and the post went viral almost immediately. Benzino wasn't willing to let that slide. He fired back at 50 by taking shots at his personal life, bringing up 50's former partner Daphne and referencing her alleged ties to Diddy. Then he escalated things even further by challenging 50 to a boxing match, claiming he'd go 3 rounds with him. The situation spiraled fast and the internet ate it up. But if you're wondering why 50 even bothers responding to Benzino at all, the reason is simple: loyalty. One thing about 50 Cent is that he rides hard for his people. No hesitation, no second guessing. Eminem sits at the very top of that list. He was the one who believed in 50 when the industry was scared to stand beside him, and that bond is locked in for life.
Paul Rosenberg or Rosenthal? It's Benzino. Hello? Yeah, who's this? Paul. Yeah, Paul's Benzino. How you doing, man? I'm not doing too good. I mean, Steve told me that you want to talk to me, so I'm calling back. Yeah, well, I spoke to him. He sounds like a little whiny little bitch that you know what I'm saying, that stays behind security, stays in the studio and blocked away from society, that he can say whatever he wants. You see, I'm not that fucking dude, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that dude, man, about Boston niggas extorting Dave and everything. What type of shit is that? The real extortion is him extorting hip-hop from fucking dumb streets. That's the real extortion here. You knew what he was going to do. You knew the songs. You knew what he said about me. You knew the conversations he had with Fat Chuck. You knew all this shit.
No.
You should have these peaceful conversations with him.
Listen, the only thing that I knew, that if you can't turn this into a thing against me, you and I don't have a problem.
Oh, I don't. This isn't. You're a part. Listen, you manage Elvis. You're a part of him. You're a part of him. You're just as much of a part of him. You run Shady Records. You're a part of them. You're a part of that movement.
Don't you think it's out of hand already? Well, you know what? I didn't want it to happen in the first place. I spoke to Dave after I heard about the first record, and I was like, Dave, what's up? Why, where's this coming from? And he was like, he's got some things he wanted to get off his chest. And,
what I'm saying, but I mean, is the call, like, what's the call for? Like, I mean, he's already dropped his record. Like, you guys made your move, so what is really the call for?
oh, I just wanted to see if there's any way that, we can make peace of the situation. I don't want to.
So when Benzino went at Eminem back in the early 2000s, that permanently stamped him as an enemy in 50's world. There's no switching up. Every time Benzino resurfaces with another diss or rant, 50 slides in and turns the whole situation into a public spectacle all over again. And now Benzino is back at it once more, calling Eminem sheltered, claiming he can't move without security, while bragging that he can roam freely by himself without worry. What Benzino gets wrong is the core of the argument. Eminem never claimed to be a street boss or a tough guy. He never built his image on that narrative. So Benzino ends up arguing against something that never existed, spinning himself into circles and making the whole rant feel forced and disconnected from reality. What makes it even stranger is that just last year on Drink Champs, Benzino was emotional, tearing up while talking about Eminem. He said he wanted to meet face to face, squash everything, and finally move on, presenting himself as someone seeking real peace. Now, here he is again, reopening the same wounds, firing shots, and chasing attention from someone who hasn't responded in years. And that contrast is exactly why Eminem's silence is hitting harder than any diss track he could drop. Fast forward to today, and Benzino is right back on the same energy as before, trolling both Eminem and 50 Cent like nothing ever happened. The cycle keeps repeating, and to really understand why this won't stop, you have to rewind all the way back to 2002. That year, Eminem released The Eminem Show, his fourth studio album and one of the biggest projects in hip-hop history. When the Source magazine reviewed it, they gave the album 4 out of 5 mics. For most artists, that would have been a win, but Eminem felt the album deserved a perfect score, especially considering its massive impact and commercial success. That moment is where everything truly exploded. Eminem became convinced that something shady was happening behind the scenes at the Source, and he believed Benzino, one of the magazine's co-founders, was personally responsible.
I ate his stuff. I cooked him. Now, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, he cooked me. You know what I'm saying? It's all good. But what you stands is not going to do it. What you saltines ain't going to do is try to come here and be like that. I didn't affect him. Stop it. Because that shows that y'all ain't real hip hop.
Boston or something like that. How did everybody feel about that?
Nobody paid attention to that.
Right.
Eminem did not grow up gangster, and Eminem knows that.
What started as a disagreement quickly turned into an all-out feud that shaped an entire era of hip-hop and somehow still hasn't died more than 20 years later. Benzino argued that the reason Eminem didn't receive 5 mics had nothing to do with music and everything to do with race. That accusation lit the wildfire. From there, the back and forth spilled across the culture. Benzino labeled Eminem a culture vulture and even compared him to Vanilla Ice, trying to strip away his credibility and drag his legacy through the mud. Things escalated when Benzino released his diss track Pull Up Your Skirt, where he doubled down on the claim that Eminem's success was rooted in race rather than skill. He argued that if Eminem looked different, his lyrical ability wouldn't have been celebrated the same way. That angle wasn't just a diss, it was an attempt to reframe Eminem's entire career. From that point on, the beef stopped being normal rap competition and turned into a full-scale reputation war. Benzino leaned heavily into the street credibility argument, repeatedly questioning Eminem's background and implying he had never lived the kind of life that hip-hop traditionally respected. He tried to paint Eminem as an industry-manufactured product rather than someone who earned his place organically. Later, Benzino attempted to soften his stance, at least publicly. In interviews with MTV, he claimed he didn't have a personal issue with Eminem himself, saying his real problem was with what he viewed as a double standard in hip-hop. According to Benzino, media outlets positioned Eminem as the savior of the culture while overlooking artists who had been grinding long before him. Benzino framed Eminem as a symbol of the industry's agenda rather than an independent force, suggesting that he was elevated in ways other artists never were. In his view, Eminem became the face of a system that rewarded optics and marketability over history and authenticity. But even with those explanations, the damage was already done. The lines had been crossed, the accusations were on record, and the tension had been cemented into hip-hop history. What started as a review score dispute turned into a decades-long conflict that still resurfaces every time Benzino feels the spotlight slipping. And that's exactly why, even in 2025, this feud refuses to stay buried. Benzino doubled down on his claims, insisting that Eminem only got away with everything because, in his words, his skin color and eye color fit what America wanted to see. That framing poured even more gasoline on the fire and made the situation even uglier in the public eye. On Pull Up Your Skirt, Benzino pushed the narrative further, claiming that Eminem ran to his manager and begged him to handle the beef behind the scenes. Eminem completely rejected that version of events. He responded directly through music, making it clear he wasn't scared, wasn't hiding, and definitely wasn't letting anyone else fight his battles for him. Eminem fired back with not one but 4 diss tracks, repeatedly denying every accusation Benzino tried to push and making it clear he never asked his team to squash anything. He stood firm and made sure the world knew he wasn't backing down. That should have been the end of it, but Benzino escalated things even further. On his track Die Another Day, he played a recorded phone call between himself and Eminem's manager, Paul Rosenberg, trying to make the situation look bigger and more dramatic than it really was. But then, Benzino crossed a line you simply don't cross in hip-hop, or anywhere else. He brought Eminem's daughter into the beef, not as a passing reference, but as a shock tactic designed to provoke a reaction. Worse than that, he referenced a real-life tragedy involving a minor, something the culture immediately saw as foul and unnecessary. When Benzino rapped, "Tell Haley it ain't safe no more," the reaction was instant. That bar didn't just spark controversy, it permanently changed how many people viewed him. Benzino tried to justify his actions by claiming he was only giving Eminem a taste of his own medicine. He argued that Eminem mentioned his son first, pointing to lines from The Sauce where Eminem rapped about Ray and criticized Benzino for pushing his own child into the industry for relevance. But the difference between those two approaches couldn't be more clear. Eminem wasn't threatening Benzino's son or putting him in danger. He was criticizing Benzino as a father and industry figure, calling out what he saw as exploitative behavior. Benzino's response, on the other hand, crossed into territory the culture has always rejected. That contrast is exactly why public opinion shifted so sharply against him. Eminem let the music speak. He never escalated into threats or shock tactics. Benzino, meanwhile, took things too far, and that decision followed him for the rest of his career. Looking back now, the difference in legacy couldn't be clearer. Eminem built a catalog, a career, and a cultural impact that still stands. Benzino, decades later, is still trying to rewrite history as if people forgot how it actually played out. And that's why, even now, 50 Cent continues to clown him, Benzino keeps trolling, and the cycle never really ends. But Eminem doesn't need to respond at all. His silence is louder than any diss track Benzino could ever release, and that's what really stings in the end. If you're rocking with these deep dives, make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. Drop a comment and let me know your thoughts or what story you want broken down next. You're watching Drama and Brief, and there's a lot more coming.